Hello everyone. In this video we are going to answer some questions about the line graphs that we had presented to us in the previous video, which I'll drop a link for in the description below. So let's look at the first line graph here, which talks about the number of cars registered in the US, with the vertical representation here being in millions, and then down here we have from the year 1990 going to the right. So a couple of questions we could be asked, and I'll ask one of them here, would be to name the amount of cars sold in a specific year. So let's look at the year 2000. Why not? We'll look right here. One of the questions we could be asked could say, name the specific data at this specific point in time. So in the year 2000, if we look here, we're not exactly halfway up vertically on the cars registered part of this graph. So we're under 125 million, and if we're not too far away from that amount, if we're in that ballpark, we'll get the correct answer. So as long as it's not too extreme a value, we could say 110 million, and I'll do that for this video. So the amount of cars sold in the year 2000 is roughly around 110 million. It's less than half, and it's more than 100 million. So as long as we're in that margin, we're okay. Another specific question we could be asked could be to make a prediction. Say, predict the amount of cars registered in the year 2020. Well, here we're going up in increments of 5, but we're only showing every 10 years. So what I'm going to do is we're going to extend this graph out to the year 2020, and I'll include that 5th year in between, 2015. So if we go from here to there, that's 5 years. Here to here will be another 5 years. So this is the year 2015. And then from here to roughly about here will be the year 2020. So this trend is a little slow. So if I just extend this, and then now we're here at the year 2020. So if I look over here and just go along that line, I am now going to be a little bit above 150 million cars registered. So if I look and go this way, I'll be just above 150. So a good guess could be, again, these are just guesses and predictions. So we'll say 160 million. As long as we're not too far off from the scale on this graph, we'll be okay. Here's the other graph that we had in the last video. This is men and women over 65 in the labor force in the US. And this is from the years 1920 until the year 2000. So a couple of different questions we could be asked. One would be to say, find the difference in the percent of men and the percent of women over 65 in the labor force in the year 1920. So we could find the difference between those two, 55.6 minus 7.2. And that difference is 48.4%. Let me show you my work here. Okay. 48.4%. That could be one question. Could be to find the difference between men and women in another year, but you would do the same exact thing. You would just subtract those two values. Another question we could be asked could say, what would be the overall trend in the percent of women? We'll work with the women trend here. What was the overall trend in the percent of women over 65 in the labor force for the years shown in this graph? What is the overall trend? So we start at 7.2, then we go down to 6.1, we go up to 10.3, down to 8.2, and then we go up again. So It's kind of going back and forth, but we could say for a slight prediction that there is a slight increase in this trend. So the different kinds of questions you could be asked for these double line graphs here, finding the difference in the values in specific years, finding the trend over a certain period of time, or looking at one of those two trends and saying, what does it look like? Another specific question could be to make a prediction. Where could we expect this number to be in the year 2010 or the year 2020 or 2030, so forth and so on. We will just keep following that trend depending on which one we're looking at. If we look at the trend for men, it's going down, but then it kind of evens out towards the bottom here. So the amount could be a little less. So if we predict in the year, say 2010, that could be around 18, could be just less than 18. That would be a good prediction. For women, looks like it goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up, but it's not a huge increase, nor is it a large decrease. So if we were to predict for the year 2010, we could say 11%, just to be safe. And this is just a prediction question. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.